Good evening, Sigma Chi brothers. This is Jim Cooper of the New York City Alumni Chapter and also an alum of Penn State, 1973 Alpha Chi Chapter. I'd like to welcome everybody to the 2022-23 kickoff of SigTalks. For those of you who are new to SigTalks, we've been running them for the past 2 years. SigTalks are kind of our own version of TED Talks, featuring Sigma Chi speakers on a wide variety of topics that are of interest to a general Sigma Chi audience. And we have international participation from the United States and Canada in the audience here. The SigTalks that we've run for the past 2 years have been presented exclusively by the New York City Alumni Chapter. But this year we're doing something a little different. We're teaming up with the Washington, D.C. Alumni Chapter and collaborating with them on the SigTalks that'll be presented throughout September through June. We do a SigTalk once per month, usually the third week of the month. Sometimes Wednesdays and sometimes Thursdays will be the schedule for this year, and we'll keep you informed of that calendar. The other thing that we're doing this year that's a little different is when we do an interview or a panel, we're going to have 2 interviewers or 2 moderators. And I'm going to be joined tonight by James Hefner, who's formerly the president of the New York City Alumni Chapter and currently Grand Praetor of the Hudson Valley province. Just to mention the Washington, D.C. folks who are going to be joining us in the future, David Ashenoff is currently the president of the Washington, D.C. Alumni Chapter, and Bruce Kastner, a former Grand Trustee and ritual peer. The 2 of them will be taking the lead for the Washington, D.C. Chapter as we present future SigTalks. In fact, they're going to take the lead for us in October, and I'll be touching on the October talk at the conclusion of tonight. But right now, I'd like to introduce James Hefner, who's going to introduce tonight's speaker.
Hey there, Jim, and good evening, brothers. It is wonderful to have you join us tonight, and my honor to introduce our Grand Pro Consul, Bob Wilson. He is no stranger to the fraternity by any means, and has been an active alumni volunteer for many, many years. He served his chapter as philanthropy chairman, quaestor, and consul, while serving Fort Hays State University as its student body vice president and chairman of the Student Senate. He graduated with a Bachelor of Arts degree in political science and a Bachelor of Science degree in economics. He began volunteering with the fraternity while pursuing his master's degree in international economics at the University of Denver. There, he engaged with the Delta Iota chapter as its chapter advisor and with the Denver Alumni Chapter as their secretary treasurer. The summer following his graduation from Fort Hays, he began as a Balfour Leadership Training Workshop facilitator and served on a variety of different teams, such as the Quaestor team, Magister, and recruitment faculty teams. As of late, he served as our Grand Tribune member at large for the executive committee, representing all alumni, and most recently and currently as our Grand Pro Consul. So we're happy to have you join us this evening. Bob, how's everything going out in Denver this evening?
Denver's okay. We had a nice little 35-degree drop in the temperature. We were a whopping 90 yesterday, and we're 65 today. With a little bit of rain coming, but yeah, it's Colorado, so that's what happens.
Awesome.
The fun part of it is, and brothers, hi, we get to come. I get to come to you from my office. In addition to my duties at Sigma Chi, I am still a commodity trader. And for those of you who know the 1980s movie Trading Places, look for Eddie Murphy, and you'll know exactly what I do and am still doing. So the markets are now 23 hours a day. So every once in a while you get that wonderful opportunity. Just don't let anybody sneak off right now during this talk and go look at your 401k statement, because it's not going to be what you want to see. So anyway, we're not here to talk business. We're here to talk about my favorite subject, the fraternity. And I hope that I can share some light and whatever, I don't know if you want to call it insight or not. The title, The Future of Sigma Chi. Oh my God, talk about an audacious title. It's daunting and scary and all that kind of stuff when it goes Bob Wilson and the future of Sigma Chi. It's like, so we're going to at least step through some of what I see coming down the pike, and hopefully some reason for you all to get engaged and get excited about where the fraternity is, what we're looking forward to, and move on from there. So that's a long hello, but hello.
Awesome. Thanks, Bob. I know that the last time that we saw each other in person, we were at the Kroc Transformational Leaders Workshop at Bowling Green State University in Ohio, where we had over 700 undergraduate participants, 200 alumni faculty, really coming together as part of the Transformational Leader Program and running 3 certificates to our undergraduate brothers. I was wondering if you could just share with us your perspective on that experience, what your general thoughts were as it relates to where the fraternity is going in the future, and the kind of impact that our workshop experience has on its undergraduate members.
Sure. As you indicated, a long-time participant in the workshop process, and thanks for that emphasis on the long, by the way. I guess the biggest part to say is this is not your daddy's workshop. This is not what if you went to workshop as an undergraduate. Most likely, this kind of experience and this kind of learning and this kind of education and this kind of preparation is not what you probably went through. We don't run tracks of officer training and says, oh, Mr. Consul, what are you going to do? Or, oh, Mr. Queister, come over here and let me tell you about your 990. Or, hey, Mr. McGeester, give me your best practice about, what your pledge program looks like. None of that whatsoever. We are really focused on leadership, on the transformational leader program and certificates. We talk about authentic masculinity. We talk about values-based decision-making. We talk about things that really lead you to become a better leader and lead the individual into not only impacting his chapter, but his community and his alumni and really the entire world around him. So it's not like, okay, we're going to send the Consul, we're going to send the Queister, we're going to send, it's a group of brothers that are very interested, and maybe they are the Consul, maybe, they've had other experiences in the fraternity, maybe they're the McGeester, maybe they're the recruitment chairman, but when they go there, they're not focused on officer and office specific duties. It gives the attendees and the brothers and the learners really an opportunity to step up and say, hey, the old Teddy Roosevelt, throw the mantle of leadership on my shoulders. Let me get in the arena and let me get dirty and let me get messy and let me, really get after what this leadership task looks like that my brothers in my chapter have assigned me. And we provide the fraternity and the SCLI provide that opportunity for our brothers to really make those self-assessments and to hopefully gain some tools and some insights into what not only personal growth looks like, but what collaborative growth can look like, and the fact that none of us are doing this alone. There isn't any white snake background saying, here I go again on my own. You're not doing that. You're going forward with support of your brothers, support of your facilitators, all the educational endeavors and intricacies and different platforms that we can offer you, so that not only are you better, but by making you better, you make us better. And as far as any other observation, James, I observed fun. Imagine a fraternity being fun. And I saw some real, how do I want to say, introspection, I guess, not only from the undergraduates, but from the alumni. I mean, some of our best insights come when we try to be teachers or when we are teaching, and all of a sudden one of our undergraduates says, wait a minute, Wilson, what about this? And you go, oh my God. And certainly that introspective, I saw that happen to facilitators. I saw that happen to grand officers. I saw that happen to chapter advisors. It was, as you can imagine, when you put 1,000 Sigma Chi's on a campus and say, go talk Sigma Chi, hard to beat it.
Bob, if I could just comment on what you've been talking about. I served as a facilitator this past August at Kroc for the very first time. And what an experience. Really, I would highly recommend it to any Sigma Chi alum. You'll work hard, but it's just so gratifying. And really to spend 3 days intensively with 20 to 25 undergraduates from different schools in different parts of the country. I walked away feeling like, our fraternity is in good hands when it comes to the young people that are part of it today. And the other thing I would want to say is, as someone who just re-engaged with the fraternity myself a couple of years ago after kind of being away from it for almost 50 years, it was fantastic to learn about the commitment that the fraternity has made to education and leadership development of its undergraduates. It's clear that that's a real cornerstone of the fraternity today and going forward. And when I was an undergrad, it just wasn't the case as it is today. And so I wanted to ask you this question. At the Kroc Leadership workshops, it was announced in the general session that the Sigma Chi Leadership Institute has received accreditation from the Middle States Association. Could you talk a little bit about what the meaning of that is and the significance of it for the fraternity?
It is a game changer. It is amazing. The fact that we are now able to take our Sigma Chi programming that have been developed by a crack staff of highly trained educational professionals, that are used to teaching and used to education and used to creating curriculum that have impacts on their students, and to say, these professionals who, believe it or not, were not Sigma Chi's. They came in and said, hey, you guys are doing something really, really cutting edge, and we would like to be a part of that. So the fact that we've got that kind of talent and that kind of available resources to come to us, and then to go to the accreditation companies and the accreditation institutions and say, hey, we think this is really good. What do you think? And to have them come back in almost record time and say, you're right. And we believe in you, and we believe in your program so much that the Department of Education is going to stand behind what you teach and what you offer your undergraduate men. We are now in that process to where when the SCLI gets that accreditation and has that accreditation, the certificates that they've been able to actually list on and get approved, when our undergraduate brothers or our alumni brothers complete that, they qualify for educational certificates. We think we can take that a step further now and say, okay, we understand that these are accredited, these courses are approved, we've got X amount of hours invested in these. How do we change that and transfer that or make that into college credit? And they're working with ACE to be able to say, okay, we are accredited. We know these are approved. learning endeavors and learning opportunities. Now, is it possible? And they're telling us, yeah, once that accreditation came through, it is possible, and that would help facilitate the transfer of that amazing certificate and that amazing approval, I guess if you want to say that, of Sigma Chi's learning and Sigma Chi's program onto a transcript. And I got to tell you, what kind of impact does that have? Well, number one, look at what that's going to do for our alumni. Look at what that's going to do for our status. Know that there is nobody in the Greek world that is even halfway close to attempting this, let alone having accomplished it already. We've actually had some of our other fraternal brothers in the Greek world and sororities as well, sisters, say, hey, is it possible that maybe you can share out those programs with us? And, obviously we'd have to pull any Sigma Chi references and that kind of stuff. But, and quite frankly too, Jim, the part of what is available out there, we can deliver to corporate structures. And work with Johnson & Johnson and work with actual other institutions, Oklahoma State, Purdue, different groups that have said, you know what, we appreciate leadership style and we appreciate leadership programs. The macro or the micro version of that, Jim, in my opinion, is recruitment. Oh my goodness, can you imagine people that are saying, oh, you're a frat boy, you're a beer drinking, whiskey guzzling, skirt chasing, never study, know nothing guy, and to be able to come to them and say, guess what? You can be a Sigma Chi, and you can also not only benefit from our lifelong commitment to one another and our lifelong devotion to our ideals, you can get credit for it. And I think that really does open up an amazing venue. And I know that we've got some initial preliminary statistics that say, hey, did you consider joining a fraternity? And, our new recruits, our new pledges say, well, no, it never really crossed my mind. Why did you? And, 70-80% of them talk about the Sigma Chi Learning Institute and the opportunities that the Sigma Chi programming is offering them to develop themselves as leaders and as men. So, what impact does it have? Game changing. Absolutely.
I think you've left no doubt about that, Bob. James, what's next?
Yeah, I think that, having this opportunity where we're able to, provide something more, right, than the traditional experience just adds to the value in it. Beginning with undergraduates, creating that membership experience that is so impactful and life-changing that it then translates into the alumni experience. And I think that's where, we're going to take our next question is, obviously none of this would be possible without our alumni volunteers who want to re-engage with the fraternity, have an impact and continue to make an impact on the undergraduates. So Bob, I was wondering if you can sort of share with us a little bit about your thoughts on this topic, right? Alumni engagement. I mean, this is sponsored and produced by 2 alumni chapters. Talk to us a little bit about the work that's underway as it relates to alumni and member engagement in general, and what could we sort of expect to see with the fraternity going forward in this area?
A couple of points, James, and I'm really glad you used the term member engagement. For the last 4 years, I was serving on the executive committee as the alumni at large rep, and part of that, which I didn't know when I ran for the job, was you are the chairman of the member engagement committee. And it's like, oh my God, I didn't know I had that on my plate too. But why do we say alumni? Why do we say volunteer? I understand, but we're all brothers, right? Why isn't it just member engagement? Why doesn't it go, just because we cross a stage and we get a sheepskin and we show that we put in our 4 years, we still should be engaged. We should be just as engaged coming across that stage, ready to go out there and share our experiences with the young men who are now, just coming through, the freshmen, the sophomores, the juniors. We should be just as engaged coming off that stage and saying, hey, Mr. Alumni Chapter President, I know you've been out for 20 years, but you know what? Let's talk about what I can help you do and what you can help me network with. And I think there's so much opportunity and so much, I don't want to say low hanging fruit, but there's so many minimal opportunities. We have really got such a low bar as far as engagement goes that, you know, we were promised, and we've all made the promises, and we've all taken the oath that this is a lifelong commitment, that there is reciprocity engaged and involved in the Brotherhood of Sigma Chi. Well, it seems like once we get that sheepskin, it becomes a lot more of give the fraternity, give. And there's not a lot of value back to our alumni brothers and to the alumni chapter members. And you know, what does the fraternity in reciprocal terms and methods give back to our alumni? And you know, we were all recruited on the idea that there's this amazing Sigma Chi network that you just become a Sigma Chi and you're going to have job offers just lined up right over here, right over here, right over here. I'm going to tell you, we haven't done a very good job of that. And I think there's a lot of opportunity there. On your very first point, James, you talked about value added. We've worked with NIC, the National Interfraternal Conference, and run some Gallup polls and some studies. And, you know, the fraternities offer huge value. Their members experience stronger mental health. They create those lifetime connections that we don't have to talk about, but not just to one another, but to the campus and to their community. And, you know, they also show that fraternities in Greek life are an accelerator for success in life beyond college. So, you know, some of those statistics, and I should leave the statistics to our worthy Grand Consul, because he does such a much better job of presenting statistics than I do. But that nearly 80% of fraternity men currently in both the college existence and the alumni say that they are excellent in their mental health and well-being, and that they are 5 times as likely to be satisfied with their lives in general as Greek alumni. So, you know, we know that there's some benefit there. Fraternity men are 2 times as likely to encourage others to attend their alma mater, as opposed to just alumni from that same institution. And fraternity men are 5 times as likely to give back to that alma mater. Once again, we've got some real value that we can bring. And on the education front, fraternity men report they're 3 times as likely to get an internship while they're in college, and they're 2 times as likely as their counterparts to actually have a job waiting for them when they do graduate. So there are some real values, I think, to being a fraternity man and to staying engaged. As far as what Brother Dan Shaver and his member engagement committee are lining up, certainly engagement is one of our planks in the strategic plan. And, you know, it really starts, and you guys know this, from, you know, recruiting and building up the ranks of the New York and Washington alumni chapters. It starts with solid data. And so, you know, and unfortunately, Sigma Chi kind of pushed the technology into things back for a while. We've made a very substantial investment in technology over the last 6 months, and we'll continue to do so over the next 12. That will help us develop a platform to when you are ready, or when your brothers are ready, or they can look at that platform and they can go, you know, one touch button. Oh, I'm at Sigma Chi. Now I can talk about engagement. Now I can talk about what interests me. I can talk about affinity groups. I can talk about whiskey SIGs. I can talk about SIGs in the airport. I can talk about all these groups that I can join socially on social media. It talks about opportunities that will be at the chapter. It will the undergraduate chapter level. It will talk about opportunities to train and be involved at the alumni chapter level. You know, it will talk about How do we get our families involved? How do we get, oh my goodness, my son, I don't know how this happened, but all of a sudden he's 15 and starting to talk about college. How do I engage the local chapter of a university he might attend if he wants to become a legacy of Sigma Chi? How do we take all of these great opportunities and push them out so 260,000 men who all have different ideas about what Sigma Chi did for them, what Sigma Chi means to them, how Sigma Chi helped them, and how they'd like to give back. How do we reach each one of those in 260,000 different ways? Daunting task, but Brother Shaver has really stepped up and put together a very strong platform, I think, and a very strong plan of his own, that talks about the profession side of it. How do we engage when we do start to look for employment? Progress. How do we maintain that network of volunteers? How do we maintain those databases? How do we maintain the interaction and the connection that we all felt that really started this ball rolling for us? If we take our experience as an undergraduate member and brother and talk about how those finer feelings of the heart manifested themselves, that's what we're looking for. That's what we want to find in the Denver Alumni Chapter, in the Colorado Springs Alumni Chapter, in the New York City Alumni Chapter. We want to find those connections. We want to find that progress because we have the purpose. We have that purpose of essentially the vision statement of the fraternity that was adopted with our strategic plan, that we inspire and empower our brothers to positively impact the world. Oh, you talk about audacious, you talk about overwhelming. Wow, that's our vision? Well, yeah. What else would you expect of Sigma Chi? That's certainly what I'm going to talk about in Sigma Chi.
Bob, I'd like to think of myself as an example of engagement with the byline, "It's never too late to start." Regrettably, I really wasn't engaged after I graduated in 1973 for nearly 50 years. And a couple of years ago, James Hefner drew me into the New York City Alumni Chapter. And since then, I've gotten involved with things like running SigTalks, participating in initiations, participating as a facilitator in the workshops, the Kroc leadership workshops. So it really, and as someone who retired a couple of years ago, I had it in my mind to do some volunteer work like a lot of people who retire do, but I didn't know where to start. And what I found is I can satisfy that desire for volunteer work with something I love, which is Sigma Chi fraternity. There's just a multitude of things you can do. So I would encourage anybody, who wants to volunteer, do it with Sigma Chi and get engaged. And it's a lot of fun. It's some good hard work, and it's very satisfying.
Jim, before we Jim? Yeah, I just wanted to bring up a question that came through as Bob was talking, and I didn't get to it fast enough. It's from Phil Oldham, who's one of our chapter members with the New York City Alumni Chapter and past president. He was wondering, how do we get this message out as it relates to all the great things that we're doing within Sigma Chi to potential members, perhaps starting in high school with college fairs and the like, and directly impacting parents? Can you speak to that a little bit about that?
Not a Marcom guy. So I'm going to defer the actual process to those kind of experts. But it's got to start with us. And Phil, we've been in contact for 3 or 4 years prior. It's got to start with us. We have to be able to get our Sigma Chi message out to our Sigma Chi brothers, whether it's in digital form, whether it's in paper form, whatever communicates, whether it's in Instagram. I'm not much of a TikTok guy, but we can, I'm sure James could probably provide some of that for us. But we've got to be able to get that message out to our brothers and to those members that have lived that experience and that can add that personal touch and that personal exemplification as to this is what Sigma Chi did for me. And yeah, we talk about long range, touching out to high school fairs. There are plenty of examples of chapters that actually recruit freshmen and have their pledge classes set for when these men enter campus as freshmen. Where do they recruit them? Over the summer out of high schools. So we know that it's going on and we know that it can be successful. We just have to be able to mine the actual process and then put that out there so that others can have that opportunity to drive what is successful. Some places that won't work. And certainly we fight some legal battles time to time when universities decide that they're going to force deferred recruitment upon us and tell us who we can and cannot associate with as freshmen. And certainly the Harvard case that Sigma Chi won in the court, allows us to freely associate with those members and those brothers without fear or penalty from the institution or the university. So, we've really got to make the inroads and make the cascade and the communication push from us first. And believe me, that's part of what we're looking forward to doing.
Hey, Bob, we've got another question for you. And let me stipulate from the beginning here, we don't need statistics like Tim Sanderson would provide. But a year ago, this month, Tim kicked off the SigTalk season for us. And in that SigTalk, he spoke about 4 key priorities for the fraternity. They included ritual for life, recruitment, risk management, and diversity, equality, and inclusion. And I would ask if you could please just provide some commentary on those 4 areas without the statistics, but just what kind of progress have we made in the last year since Tim talked to us?
And they are certainly priorities that we saw at that time 14 months ago when our worthy grand consul assumed the office as really some headwater points and some places where we needed to add focus coming out of the COVID restrictions. We realized that the ritual had not been performed in every chapter on a weekly basis, that there were some chapters that hadn't seen a live initiation because of the turnover in bodies and the fact that they'd done our founders initiation that we were using to bridge that gap till we could actually be in person and shake that hand and share those words that we all love so much. So I think to some degree, yes, we have done that. We focused and put together a team of ritual peers and ritual masters and brothers that were highly experienced in delivering and developing and re-engaging our undergraduate chapters with the ritual. So they went out and that plus some intensive training at that workshop and at this workshop as far as ritual for life and what that program adds up to and what our undergraduate members are expected to know and to do with our fraternal history and really more about how does that wonderful 168 pages impact your life and develop you. Is it a leadership model? Is it a life guide? Is it how does it really speak to you and develop you as a person? Because that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to help one another to attain those virtues that bring us forward and that bring the world into a better place and thus enhance the name and the livelihood of Sigma Chi. As far as risk management, yeah, we saw an uptick in cases and conduct cases. Not a surprise. We called it the great human reconnection, and quite frankly, the demographics and the changes that our young men that are 18 to 20 had just experienced. They didn't get to hang with their friends. They didn't get to have a prom. They didn't go on dates. They didn't, they sat in front of a computer screen and commiserated about what they were missing. So yeah, we had to help our brothers re-engage with the idea of what is, true gentlemanly conduct and what is acceptable in today's society, as well as what makes them better and what makes them more, what should we say, engageable. That's not a word. More able to engage with society and with their campus and with their peers. So, did we have some struggles there? We did, but the fraternity stepped up with a restorative justice plan and with a re-engagement plan that allowed, some of that conduct issue to help those chapters maybe become better aware of what it means to be social and to be out in the world again and to actually be on their campuses physically as opposed to just remotely. Recruitment, that was a shining star in the great human re-engagement. We actually had, if I remember the final total, the 5th best ever recruitment class last year, that our recruitment numbers were that strong and ever in the history of Sigma Chi. And that's really encouraging that, people saw value in what Sigma Chi provided, that our brothers went out and recruited the right kind of men and found those other Sigma Chi's that we identified as Sigma Chi's. We don't make Sigma Chi's. As wonderful as our ritual is, and as wonderful as P for B can be, we don't make Sigma Chi's. You can't do that. Otherwise, anybody could be one. And if you ask around any undergraduate chapter, any alumni chapter, ask them this question: can anybody be a Sigma Chi? Their answer will be no. Well, if that answer is no, the corollary is, then you can't make one. We have to identify the men who are Sigma Chi's, who understand our values, and maybe don't know it themselves yet. Maybe they're aware of it. Maybe the world always takes care of those who are not blessed with self-awareness. So you kind of wonder if maybe we open up their eyes, enlighten their education and their ability to really become the men that they're destined to be. So I think that has proven to be a very positive point. And, we're still working on the diversity, equity, and inclusion piece. That committee continues to put forward prospects and ideas as to, what is fitting in today's society, what is appropriate for Sigma Chi's to understand and to learn and to know, and how do we make that filter through our Sigma Chi experiences, so that we're not, necessarily viewed or engaged as, a privileged class, that anybody that has our values, and regardless of what kind of background they have or what kind of differences they might exude, share our values, talk about how to become better men, and Sigma Chi has a place for you. So I think, have we made some strides there and some gains there? We have. And have we beat back some of the fires that were nipping at the fences of the Sigma Chi experience? Certainly we have. And that's been because of the conduct and the attitude and the real integrity that our undergraduate brothers and our alumni volunteers have brought to the table.
James, I think we've got a final question for Bob tonight before we open it up to the audience. And what's that?
Sure. I think that, going into the strategic plan, I do want to just sort of highlight a website that would be available for everybody to have access to see what that strategic plan is. And that is sigmachi.org/strategic plan, where you'll be able to see this website. So, Bob, do you want to go over just a little bit about what are, the top priorities through the strategic plan for us?
Sure, James. And, it's been a while since we actually put pen to paper and chased down a long-term plan. And, I'm reminded of what Eisenhower said, and there is nothing more valuable than planning. And yet in the heat of the battle, there's nothing more useless than a plan. You've got to be able to be flexible, and you've got to be able to look at the priorities and the landscape, and also with with the people that are involved. Remember, we talked about people, purpose, and partnerships, and you've got to keep those in the focus as well when you're talking about a strategic plan. And when a undergraduate brother goes to Horizons, they learn that on their journey up their individual and specific leadership mountain, once in a while you got to stop and take a sideways action or even back up. So, set in stone. Don't hold me to that by any means. But we have 4 areas of focus. You can see them there. I don't have to read to you. God, I hope I don't have to read to you. And down below each one of those, you're going to find, after our statement from our worthy Grand Consul, in each section you'll find, what exactly does health, safety, and wellness mean? How are we going to aspire and develop those practices that are going to lead us to have emotional and physical and mental well-being? And then and how does that set up in both accountability and housing and various statements? And then, James, if you scroll on down, you'll find that we talk about engagement, and plank number 2 or pillar number 2 is the engagement, and we've kind of covered that to some degree, but to really allow the opportunity to inspire our members to engage themselves and their communities and their families, and have them engage back. And this is where we're going to need our alumni brothers. We have a goal of 5,000 trained volunteers reaching out. We hope to, by the end of this semester, actually have at least 1 per chapter within an hour's driving distance that can actually deliver Sigma Chi programming and can volunteer and be an expert. We hope at some point that every undergraduate brother can have an alumni mentor that wants one. Certainly we don't say, okay, you're a Sigma Chi pledge, now here is your mentor. But certainly our brothers are looking for that kind of leadership and guidance and support and brotherhood. And if we can engage our alumni and provide that kind of, maybe your Sigma Chi give back and experience said, oh my God, they're going to ask me to be a grand chapter advisor. They're going to ask me to be a grand praetor. I don't have the time for that. But can I give an hour a month? Can I give 2 hours one weekend a month to talk to some undergraduate brother about, life and work and interests? Certainly, I think that all of us would be willing to give back to that. Growth of the scholarship and of the donors. We're hoping to, really engage along that lines as well. That, Sigma Chi really set me up, and I want to give back of time, talent, and treasure. When you get to the development, that's when we start talking about officer training and the foundational leadership certificates and R4L and the fact that besides the transformational certificate, our goal is to have 75% of our undergraduate members also receive at least one other certificate. And I know there's a couple of brothers that have tuned in tonight that have exceeded that. And already have 3 or 4, Jeffries. I can't keep track of you. Hell, you might have all 7 by the way you go through it. So, and then finally we talk about growth, and this is really fascinating to me. We have a target of a 3% growth rate. Remember, Sigma Chi actually has over 300 chapters that at one point we had initiated. We actually have 239 that are active now. Well, there are campuses that we're anxious to return to. We talk about member retention. Why do our seniors leave? We talk about alumni retention. Once you get out of their undergraduate chapter, go experience that alumni chapter and that alumni experience and get to make those connections and get to make that network. And then finally, something that's very dear to my heart, the expansion process. As chairman of your new chapter development, watching these new organic groups. We've got one in Sacred Heart, never been to Sacred Heart. We've got a new group that's forming out of Northeastern. Campuses that Sigma Chi needs to be on now have that opportunity to go forward and develop chapters and brothers and relationships on campuses that, carry with it some real need, I think.
Well, Bob, thanks very much for a really comprehensive and inspiring overview of Sigma Chi today. And you covered a lot of ground. What we'd just like to do before we close up for this evening is open it up to the audience to see if there are any other questions that Bob could take that you'd like to hear about.
So we do have a question that's coming through. How do we connect undergrads to alumni chapters where they live or hope to live?
Again, I think that develops through our improvement in technology. And I think it helps when our alumni chapters, such as yours, have that real strong base and still have that real strong presence that allow us to say, hey, when you go to DC for that job in the government, there's a method and a way to connect this. And that's what I'm talking about when I say that one-click opportunity. I've got a recent experience here in Denver where a undergraduate brother that I got the pleasure and the opportunity to know this past year has moved out here. Well, his first reaction was to look up the Denver Alumni Chapter, and he got such a bailiwick of spin and where do I go next and what do I do next, and that he finally just gave me a call and said, I want to give up. And we can't do that, especially when we've got that kind of fire and that kind of initiative. So it's really up to us to develop that platform and develop those opportunities and then engagement. What do they look like? How do we do that? Those are going to be issues and answers that I think you will see come out of our member engagement committee and Brother Shaver's leadership very quickly.
All right. Well, that's what we have tonight. No more questions out there, Bob. You covered a lot of ground. I think we really, got a tremendous amount of information and, as I said, inspiration. And it's been an honor to have you. Thank you for providing us with a very concentrated hour of your time tonight. It's been great. And, I just leave it to you if you have any final comments you'd like to make.
Just appreciate the opportunity, brothers. Tomorrow is really, John Wayne said it, tomorrow is the most important thing in life. It comes in every day at midnight, pure and clear and perfect, and then we mess it up. They just hope that tomorrow hopes that maybe we've learned something from yesterday and that we always keep looking forward to the next tomorrow. So if you all will just indulge me, I know James started this out with the future of Sigma Chi. So, and James is recording all your expressions and all your replies. So he's watching when you do this. But if you'll hold up your left hand like this, and then take your right hand and point right here, and then look at that real hard, I want you to tell me what you've got. You've got the future of the fraternity because it's in your hands. And that's where the future lies, brothers.
All right, Bob. Once again, thank you very much for getting us off to a great start with SigTalks in our 2022-23 season. And just a little preview of our next SigTalk in October. We're going to delve into politics. We'll have two representatives, two Sigma Chi's, one representing the Democratic viewpoint, the other representing the Republican viewpoint in terms of what's coming up in the midterm elections. So we'll be putting information out about that over the next couple of weeks. Please tune in when you see the specific date for the October SigTalk. Once again, thank you, Bob. Thanks, James. And I think we're ready to sign off. Any final word, James?
Nope. I appreciate everybody joining and tuning in tonight, and we look forward to seeing you next week, or next month rather, for our next SigTalk event. Thanks so much.
Good night, guys.